February 2019. Destination, Galway, Ireland. Objective, kickstarting the Irish Tarmac Rally Championship in style. Target, to find the fastest, bravest drivers who live to rally. Welcome to a brand new season and whole new level of competition. Tighten your belts for Irish rallying at its best. There are big changes afoot this year, with previous champions electing to swap WRC machinery for championship scoring R5 spec cars. Declan Boyle with a Fiesta, and Donegal's Manus Kelly also rings the changes, debuting his Hyundai R5 on the tricky stages that Galway has to offer. Add to that stellar entries from a host of speed freak drivers, and we have ourselves a seriously thrilling day of rallying ahead. The Corrib Galway International Rally is the curtain raiser on a highly anticipated championship year, which sees a quality and quantity entry, with 24 R5 cars starting from Ayr Square in the heart of Galway, where many fans get their first glimpse of the competing crews. The top seeds, WRC regulars Craig Breen and Paul Nagle, are proving quite the draw. Craig Breen and Paul Nagle rallying at home in Ireland. Must be good to be back.
Absolutely awesome. I can remember myself anyway, this was one of my first big rallies exactly 10 years ago when a little ST, absolutely petrified, rolling up onto a start ramp, car 100 and odd, and to be back here now 10 years later, number one on the door. And I've been a whirlwind adventure up to this point, but I think we're just going to have a day's fun tomorrow. Lots of fun is on the cards, I'm sure, Paul.
Yeah, it's always a special rally. It's a very difficult rally. The conditions are tricky here, and looking forward to it. It's been a big break for me, so I might be a bit rusty in the morning, but I won't be long knocking the cobwebs off myself.
2017 Irish Tarmac champion Sam Moffat returns to the fold and is eager to show how competitive he can be out on the stages.
Really looking forward to the race, and when you've Craig here, WRC driver, and Alistair's back out, what more can you want? And it's just going to be a great race, and the best man's going to win.
Completing the Moffat clan is Josh, our reigning Irish Tarmac champion, who is back to defend his crown. It's been a year since we've witnessed Alistair Fisher in competition. He and Gordon Noble are back in the hot seats and raring to go.
Hopefully we're not too rusty, but we'll certainly give it a go.
Stepping out of the world of sim racing, where he's claimed his own championship title, is Northern Ireland's John Armstrong in his dirt game-bagged Fiesta R5. So many times we've seen you behind the wheel of sim racing. You're the esports champion from last year. Now, of course, working very much for Dirt Rally, but it's very real here in Galway, Mr. Armstrong.
Yeah, like you said, it's kind of surreal. I've been in sim racing and now I'm back in the real thing, and it's through sim racing that I've got an opportunity like this. So, yeah, it's sort of an unusual approach, but I'm very much looking forward to getting back behind the wheel of a real car and seeing what we can do tomorrow.
I'm just going to touch you because we see you in the virtual world, but you're very real.
Yeah, I'm the real deal.
We'll find out how real through the course of the day. Welshman Marion Evans has delivered some strong performances with his Hyundai R5 so far, but how would he deal with the challenge of Galway? Another i20 in the mix, this time in the hands of Manus Kelly. Eugene Dalton from sponsor Corrib is a huge motorsport fan and delighted to be part of the Galway experience.
The entry has been phenomenal, way ahead of expectations. As you know, we didn't have the rally last year, so it's great to have it back again, albeit a little bit shortened. And there is huge demand from not alone just in Ireland, but we've the international competitors as well. So it's a great start to the Tarmac Championship, yeah.
As the song says, low lie the fields of Athenry. And we are set for the championship to get underway. 9 stages lie ahead with 120 competitive kilometres for the crews to face. The interest in the event is huge, with the fields filled with spectators as far as the eye can see, creating a unique atmosphere. Craig Breen and Paul Nagel are getting some heat into their tyres. They're first off the line this morning and everyone is keen to see the level of pace across the opening tests. There was a slight delay, however, on the opener, and cold tyres didn't help Breen to the best of starts. An overshoot also impeded his pace on stage 1. However, the next 2 stages went very well, Breen gaining in confidence and moving from 4th overall into the lead of the event. Not a bad morning's work. Gary Jennings and Rory Kennedy headed into the lead after a strong stage 1, which suited their Subaru Impreza. They dropped to 3rd though after the technical 2nd stage, and an ongoing gearbox issue was a distraction for them.
Square right in. In you go. Good man. 100. Okay. What was it? Caution. Turn here to the left. Don't cut. Gravel. 40. Flat right and left. Over crest 150.
After 3 stages, they found themselves 2nd overall. The return of Alistair Fisher and Gordon Noble couldn't have got off to a better start. If anyone thought they would be rusty, then they could think again. A determined effort saw them leading the Irish Tarmac Championship contenders after stage 1.
3 right plus long, stay in, carry opens. 40, left of mid over jump, 120. Stay right for 2 left in flat, 60.
However, this half spin on stage 3 in exceptionally tough conditions dropped them down to 3rd overall at the event.
Full mud, 30.
Josh Moffat and Keith Moriarty were next to deal with the inconsistencies of the first 3 stages. Wet tar, drying tar, full mud. Not an easy Sunday drive at all.
Josh, we talked about it being tricky out there this morning. Some battle going on right now.
Yeah, it's great to see it, so it is. But yeah, I think anybody's doing well just to stay on the road out there.
Staying on the road was sadly an issue for Sam Moffat. On the opening test, Sam got caught out and plunged his Fiesta R5 into the greenery. Both crew were unhurt, but their rally day was over. Another driver who hasn't been behind the wheel of a real car for a long time is John Armstrong. A world champion in sim rallying, but with limited time in charge of an actual car, it took a few stages to build up the confidence levels. After stage 1, he was 10th, but by the end of the loop, he was in 5th overall.
Flat left 2 with the clip, flat right 3 muddy, 80 left 1 over crest, 450 down to the bottom. Brake before the lay behind the left, a right 7 long.
Setting a cracking opening stage time with Daniel Cronin and JJ Kremin, just a handful of seconds behind the pace of flying Fisher. The Skoda Fabia R5 of Desi Henry looked pristine clean through the opening stage, but conditions were getting far more challenging, with plenty of mud being pulled out from the cuts. Stage looking a little like a gravel rally in sections. Liam Moynihan is on the notes here.
Big watch up here now, big watch. Small crest and big watch, 4 8 minus, time to 3 over ice. We need to come back, this is bad. 4 minus, time to 3. 3, wait for it here. 8, 2 left over shiny and 2 right.
Desi, Lupa 3 done this morning. Looks like it's been incredibly tricky out there.
Yeah, very, very tricky. We haven't had a great morning. We half spun and we thought of puncture in one of the stages there and just can't really find a rhythm. So I'll try and make a few changes in service and go from there.
Johnny Greer and Kirsty Riddick were back in 12th after the opener, but climbed 8th by the end of the loop in their Fiesta R5. Many eyes were keenly watching the progress of Declan Boyle, who is behind the wheel of a new challenger, switching to a Fiesta R5. The first stage was the strongest for him, and the Donegal man was keen to ring the changes at service. Adapting to new machinery would take a little bit of time, but with the pedigree of Boyle, it wouldn't take long.
And a 5 left sloppy, keep on over crest. Going out 200 over bumps. At the end, 2 left over crest. Cut grass. absolute, straight through, 1 right, straight through, up to the 3 right, cut the speed on the 3 right for wipeout, 5 left, you know.
Full morning done now, Declan. How can you say you found it? And are you happy with the car? Are you happy with what you're doing with it?
I'm definitely improving from the first stage. We're carrying a bit more speed here and there and getting the gearing right. Still a good bit to go, but it's the first day out in it, so I'm happy. Great to get around the first 3.
Another switch to R5 spec was from Manus Kelly. The Hyundai i20 not too difficult to spot with its bright green livery. A stall on the start line for the first stage though. Getting to grips with the car was the objective this weekend. Tough conditions to do that on here in Galway.
Tight 5 left over crest, push water inside. 60, long absolute 1 right, over crest, only 60 down, short 5 left, very fast.
Dealing with the conditions well were Cahan McCourt and Barry McNulty, who were in 10th position after 3 stages.
4 left, we keep on the 4 left to 100. 5 left, keep on this line in the long past 4 right, and there's a line through the long past 4 right, must keep. 40, long flat 5 left, keep it, nips to the exit, okay. Nips on it, 100, slowing.
Back behind the wheel again for 2019 is Stephen Wright. His trusty Fiesta sitting just outside the top 10 after the morning's loop. Marion Evans and Jonathan Jackson were left wanting more out of their morning's action. After a good opening stage which left them 7th, they dropped back to 12th by the end of the loop. Just behind Marion was Stephen McCann and Denver Rafferty. It's fair to say that the opening loop for Philip Allen and Stephen McCauley was lively. I think it's best to let Philip describe what happened in his own inimitable style.
You like the hedges and you like the speed. It didn't go too well. They don't. It didn't go too well on the opener. Tell us what happened.
I don't know, it's just so slippy, and then there's a flat 2 left, flat 2 right, and then a slowing 3 left, but she just started to get away in the 3 left, and the 5 left was just, or the 5 right was there, then, sure, what do you do, like? So the whole thing was away, but sure, that's the story of my life.
You've got quite a big thank you to a farmer, though, who got you out, yeah?
Oh, he told me out of the deck, over the hedge, into the field, then out of the field, onto the road, and then out of the stage. Then with no brakes, so he stopped at T junction. The front of the car drove into the back of the tractor. No. So just one of them days. But yeah, good.
Good luck for the rest of it.
I ain't gonna need it.
He's quite the character, isn't he? Let's turn our attention to the right-hand drive R5s with Brendan Comiskey leading the category from the start of the event and would be effectively 14th overall. Back after a while out of the hot seat was Aaron McHale in his right-hand drive Hyundai i20. Another Skoda Fabia, this time of the Super 2000 variety, was piloted by David Guest and Jonathan McGrath, who are back in action for another Irish tarmac season. Galway was not in short supply of R5s. They were everywhere. Keith Lyons and Adam Coffey back in 18th overall as we headed to the first service. It was a tough start to the event for Ross and Aaron Ford. They were in 16th overall before losing 10 minutes on stage 3. Normally a regular in the National, Paul Barrett has switched to, yes, you've guessed it, an R5. A case of adapting to new machinery, Barrett was back in 24th position. After a tough morning which delivered some brilliant action on the stages, it was time to return to the bustling service park at Athenry. Time for a brief respite from the action and maybe a cup of tea. Let's take a look at the results after 3 stages. Craig Breen leads the way with Jennings second in the event. Fisher the second Irish Tarmac Championship contender. The gaps, as you can see, are still nice and close. We'll see you for more action from the Corrib Galway International Rally after the break. Welcome back to the Corrib Galway International Rally. 3 stages have been completed so far, and it's Craig Breen who's leading the way on this chilly opening day of the Irish Tarmac Rally Championship. We are ready to go with our second loop of stages. We've seen some sun and we've seen some showers. It's been a mixed bag, similar to the fortunes of some of our drivers. Out in front and enjoying their Galway experience with every passing kilometre were Craig Breen and Paul Nagle. They may have lost the lead on the first stage out of service, but they snatched it back from Jennings on the very next stage. A determined drive across challenging conditions, which was thrilling the many spectators. Jennings was keen to get the afternoon loop underway, and the battle with Craig was fierce. Gary and Rory showing some serious commitment.
And stay right. And flat 3 left, Max Brave. 100. Middle over flat crest. 60, stay left, flat 2 right, Brave. Okay, 100.
However, the battle would be short-lived, with Jennings getting caught out on stage 6. Rally over. After an impressive morning's loop, much was expected from Alistair Fisher, and he didn't disappoint, consistently punching in competitive times to sit behind Breen in second overall.
Line 4 left, full cut bad mud. Line 2 right flat, 150 through water. Square left, slippy braking. 180. Slowing, slight left, 30.
Josh Moffat kept up the momentum and went on to score the fastest stage time on the last test of the loop. Third overall and 14 seconds behind Fisher now, still keeping on the pressure with just 3 stages remaining. Never was there a more apt sponsor on a car for the conditions than John Armstrong's dirt game-backed Fiesta. Consistency of pace continued across the loop, with John and Noel now 4th overall, a huge improvement over the opening tests.
Right 2 over crest, jump maybe, continues for 100, tightens to 3, flat over crest at the yellow house. This tightens to 3, into left 4, long, fast, clip, muddy, into middle over flat brow, 60, left 6, long, clip, muddy.
In their fabulous Fabia, Desi Henry and Liam Moynihan. Losing a bit of ground to Armstrong, they trailed him by 15 seconds and were 5th overall.
Flat 6 left over crest in, into flat 6 right 80, you're looking for a sign in. Slowing 6 right minus to the sign, 100 going down, late 3 left plus, slippy at the chevron.
On an upward trajectory were Johnny Greer and Kirsty Riddick, gaining 2 places on the exceptionally tricky middle stage of the loop. A successful 3 stages though, which see them 6th overall in the standings. They'd managed to get ahead of Declan Boyle, who was continuing to discover more about his brand new charge on every stage that passed. He was still in touch with Greer though, just 2.2 seconds behind as we headed to the second service of the day.
Line 3 right, big cut, absolute out of it, 80. Down to a jump, cut the speed for 5 left. Cut the speed for 5 left. And a 5 right, 5 right out.
Conditions had been described very differently by every driver. Tricky was a word that featured heavily across the day. Daniel Cronin certainly found it challenging out on the Galway stages.
I don't think I've ever driven in mud that bad. So we're going to get intermediates put back on there now again and see can we clear the mud and maybe a few setup changes that soften or small bit. So.
Another man who switched machinery this year is Ger O'Donovan. From a Subaru to a Skoda Super 2000. After 6 stages, he's in 23rd position overall. Joe Connolly and Kevin Glynn got off to a cautious start on the morning stages, but were starting to build momentum as we headed into the afternoon. Back at the Athenry Service Park, crowds were gathering. It seemed that everywhere you turned in Galway, you'd bump into a rally fan. Rally fever had certainly hit hard. Leaders Craig and Paul picking their way carefully through the fans to find their service area.
Craig, we're an afternoon, we're seeing of rallying out there. Are you enjoying it a little bit more than this morning now?
Absolutely. It's every stage that goes by, there's several occasions where we both have a laugh and a chuckle, and it's so nice. I haven't had it for so long, and it was great to have the battle with Gary. Unfortunately, he's gone now. Alistair's not so far behind, and it's just so much fun.
The mud-splattered car of second place Alistair Fisher ready to face the final stages. A younger crowd wait for him here, and perhaps Alistair's biggest fan.
Do you know what? You know, for the fact that you have been out of the seat for such a long time, to bounce straight back and be right on it again, it must be really satisfying.
It is, because it was a bit daunting. I thought the big entry for Galway this weekend, and having not been out, we were a little bit nervous, but the notes are flowing well, and we just feel comfortable with the car, so we're pushing on okay.
Josh Moffat had just set the fastest time on the last stage before service and was having a good run here in Galway, third overall.
Look at the stages out there, it's so tricky. So I'm just happy to still be here, really. So
yeah, you can't really ask for much more. We're fourth overall now, and we've just been playing it smart, which you need to do, and hopefully we can get a good result now.
Good results were on a lot of drivers' minds as we headed into the final loop, and the weather was taking a turn for the worse as Paul Nagle takes cover in the boot of their Fiesta. Wild winds and rain lashed down on the stages, but no one was going home quite yet. The action was simply too good to miss. Before we confirm the final results here in Galway, let's check out the National Championship. The top three look a little something like this. Local lads Richard and James Whelan take third position overall. Piloting their Mark II Escort to second overall were Damien Toner and Mick Cody. But the overall honours in the National go to Damien Torish and Donald McAlany, after a determined drive taking victory with over a minute's advantage to their rivals. Back to the battle overall now, and it was a disappointing finish for Cather McCourt, who had set extremely competitive times throughout the weekend, joint third fastest overall on stage 7. He retired after damaging his radiator on stage 8. Into the big top 5 on the opening round of the Corrib Galway International Rally now, with Desi Henry and Liam Moynihan sealing 5th overall. A good start to their championship season. A controlled and comfortable drive from John Armstrong proved that he can still do his thing in the real world as well as the virtual. Hard to believe it's only his third event in an R5 car. He's hoping for more drives this year. Into our top 3 now, and reigning Irish tarmac champions Josh Moffat and Keith Moriarty walk away with third overall after a clever drive in tough conditions. A brilliant return to the championship with an excellent return to form for Alistair Fisher and Gordon Noble. Hard to believe they'd ever been away. A well-deserved second place. And taking the win after a masterclass display throughout the weekend were Craig Breen and Paul Nagle, enjoying every single second of what Galway has to offer. They now lead the championship as we head into the next event in West Cork, where, with all things being well, we'll see them compete again.
Took a little bit of time to get settled into everything. I should probably get into it a little bit faster. It's my job, or was my job. But still, the level here is really, really high, and they can be proud that this championship is definitely one of the toughest championships in the world.
The final results then for the Corrib Galway International Rally. Craig Breen taking the win with Alistair Fisher in second, Josh Moffat in third, John Armstrong fourth, and Desi Henry in 5th position overall. Craig Breen leads the championship as we head to the next event in West Cork.
So, round 1 of the Irish Tarmac Rally Championship is complete. It's Craig Breen and Paul Nagle who take the win for the Galway event itself. Alistair Fisher taking second and Josh Moffat takes third. Thank you, boys. I'm going to get them. We are underway for the 2019 season. Don't miss West Cork.